Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Donald J. Trump. Billionaire, perhaps. Former president, racist, sexist, wife-cheating narcissist. These are many words that people use to describe this horrid man. A man that has caused one of the biggest upsets in American political history. A man who shook the world when he defeated Hilary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, winning the electoral vote 304 to 227. Despite the fact that Clinton won the popular vote by 2.9 million, somehow he was still elected president. America is weird, man. So, how did this former reality TV star, racist, narcissist do as the 45th president of the United States of America? Well, it depends on who you ask. The MAGA fans and conservatives will tell you that he was the greatest president that America has ever seen. A man with integrity, a man willing to go against the political norms, to make America great again. A man willing to go against the PC woke mob and masses that is led by the extreme left. The liberals would say he abused his power, used it to make him and his lackeys more money. All he ever cared about were his own interests, proven by the fact that many of his associates and lawyers were criminally charged for various crimes including money laundering. He'd be the first president in history to be impeached twice by the House of Representatives, which was majority Democratic leaning House, only to be overruled both times by the Republican majority in the Senate. So how did he actually do as president? Well, in today's video I'm going to talk about the good, the bad and the ugly of Donald J. Trump. So on January 20th, 2017, President Trump was inaugurated. The next day there was a Women's March, which was the largest single day event in history, which was protesting the fact that Trump had become president and also was protesting his policies. Now, Trump was very busy his first few days in office. In one of his first policy decisions, President Trump decided to reinstate the Mexico City policy, which was a ban on an aid to international groups performing or counseling on abortion. He would then sign his controversial executive order that denied entry into the United States for people from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and suspended the refugee admissions policies for 120 days. A lot of his critics would point out that the ban did not apply to several Muslim majority countries that had well documented problems with terrorism, such as Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia and Afghanistan. Trump would then go on to sign an executive order that undid the temporary ban that Obama had put on mining coal and protection rules for streams. In reversing Obama's clean power strategy, he actually set America back a few years in terms of climate change. Trump then also withdrew America from the Paris Climate Accord, which was created in 2015 to help fight against climate change. Trump would then go on to help his executive rich pals on December 22nd, 2017, when he would sign a $1.5 trillion tax bill into law. It basically cuts taxes for corporations and the wealthy while delivering very moderate cuts for most working class Americans. So far, his decisions clearly only really benefited the wealthy, the rich, and not the common working man. As per usual, this idea of trickle-down economics, which has been disproven time and time again, clearly showed that where Trump's priorities clearly were. In June 2018, he would meet Kim Jong-un for the first time, and they seemed like great old pals. They met in Singapore, and Trump would go on to say in an interview with Piers Morgan later on that he threatened Kim Jong-un and had the biggest red button, which you'll see here.
I have a red button on my desk too, but it's bigger and stronger than yours, and mine works. And they said, whoa, nobody's ever talked to us that way. I took a lot of heat when I said that.
Now, one of the most controversial acts of the Trump administration was its decision to separate children from the parents at the US-Mexico border. So basically, when the Mexican immigrants were flooding in illegally into the States, the border control would separate the parents from the kids, and images of the children being kept in cages shocked the American public at the time, and he had to end the practice this year. Almost 2,000 children were separated from the parents as they crossed the border, and once it was condemned publicly and the end of the policy, this thankfully stopped this cruel and unnecessary act that he had. Now, however, it was later revealed that there are still more than 500 children who have not been found, and some may not have been deported with their families afterwards. Later in that same year, Trump would then meet Putin. During the press conference, Trump refused to speak out against the supposed Russian involvement in the 2016 election, and he received a lot of criticism for this from both the Democrats and the Republicans for not standing up to Russia. His first impeachment would then come on the 24th of September 2019. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi would announce that the House began formal impeachment inquiries against President Trump after a whistleblower complaint against Trump's conduct becomes public. The issue was that a phone call with Trump spoke with President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine in 2019 that pressured the Ukrainian president to help Trump with information that might discredit a domestic political rival, i.e. Biden. He would be impeached by December of that year, but unfortunately, because the majority of the Senate was Republican, they would of course overrule. So we've talked about George Floyd, a man who was murdered by police after a knee being rested on the back of his neck for nearly 9 minutes. This obviously sparked many protests around the country, and during this time Trump decided to use this to get a bit of clout. Trump walks to the nearby St. John's Church in Lafayette Square for a photo op. In preparation for his arrival, riot police immediately used tear gas and stun grenades to clear the protesters for him to take that infamous photo of him holding the Bible upside down in front of the church. Again, showing that this was not about George Floyd, but this was about him gaining some political points to try to get the black votes on his side. Now, Trump isn't someone that steers away from any sort of controversy. I mean, there's many controversies in his presidential career, but also in his personal one. Like, for example, Stormy Daniels was a porn star who the world found out about in 2018 when she published a book about their 2006 affair. She famously compared Trump's penis to the mushroom character on Mario Kart, but later said she regretted the decision after it sparked ridicule and went viral. She allegedly would receive $130,000 from Trump's lawyer to prevent her from going public with the affair during the 2016 US election, and was sued for the money after she went public in 2018. Michael Cohen, who was President Trump's former lawyer, was sentenced to 3 years in prison after cooperating with federal investigators and admitting to campaign finance violations when he paid the woman to remain silent about alleged affairs with Trump before the 2016 presidential election. Now, Trump would also have a lot more sexual allegations against him. In fact, there was a total of 18 women that would come out and have allegations against his sexual misconduct, claimed that he was inappropriate at different events, whether it be sexual assault or sexual misconduct. Trump actually paid off a lot of these people during certain time periods to try to keep them quiet, but he has vigorously denied any sort of truth to these. He claims that it's all fake and it's the Democrats trying to tear him down.
Stories are all totally false. I have to say that. And I didn't even apologize to my wife, who's sitting right here, because I didn't do anything. I didn't know any of these women. I didn't see these women. These women, the woman on the plane, the woman, I think they want either fame or her campaign did it. And I think it's her campaign.
Now, despite a lot of his wacky and strange policies, Trump was actually favoured to win the 2020 election that was coming up. However, unfortunately for Trump, something would happen that nobody would expect, and that would be the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Trump would unfortunately downplay the severeness of this particular pandemic and would refuse to wear a mask, and he consistently would told reporters that the virus would just go away on its own.
Do you regret not wearing a mask in public from the start? And will you consider a national mandate that people need to wear masks?
No, I want people to have a certain freedom, and I don't believe in that, no. And I don't agree with the statement that if everybody wear a mask, everything disappears. Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask. Our Surgeon General, terrific guy, said don't wear a mask. Everybody was saying don't wear a mask. All of a sudden, everybody's got to wear a mask. And as you know, masks cause problems too.
He would also hold massive indoor rallies despite the scientific advice to stay away from people in small enclosed spaces. He would also suggest untested methods on treating the virus, such as hydrochloroquine and chloroquine. Over 5 million people died since the pandemic, and some would argue that if Trump took a more serious enough stance against the virus, more people would have taken it more seriously, preventing unnecessary deaths as a result. Because he refused to wear a mask publicly, a lot of his supporters would also refuse to wear a mask. He also was initially anti-vax, which also caused a huge percentage of the population to not get vaccinated, which caused more people to die as a result. He would also consistently undermine the scientific community, who would give sound scientific advice for the information they had at that time. He would consistently have these pandemic held meetings with reporters and would often just storm out because he just would not want to hear the questions, as he consistently just shut down any sort of reporter that suggested the virus was more dangerous than it was.
The president and your fake news.
He would make suggestions saying that once it starts getting warmer, the virus would just disappear, without having any real knowledge of how viruses work and how they spread.
The virus. They're working hard. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
He would also state as well during his campaigning for the 2020 election that he has the best testing that anywhere in the world, and of course if you're going to test more people you're going to get more positive results.
With testing, testing is a double-edged sword. We've tested now 25 million people. It's probably 20 million people more than anybody else. Germany's done a lot. South Korea's done a lot. They call me, they say, the job you're doing, here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Which is an idiotic viewpoint that I can't even wrap my head around. Now, of course, when Trump realised that the 2020 election was slipping away from him as the results were coming in, Trump did what Trump does best.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. A lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof, and it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land. Phony polls, I have to call them phony polls, fake polls, were designed to keep our voters at home, create the illusion of momentum for Mr. Biden, and diminish Republicans' ability to raise funds. They were what's called suppression polls. Everyone knows that now. This is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election, and we can't let that happen.
On December 2nd, 2020, Justice Department concluded that on the voter fraud investigation under General William Barr, that after their detailed investigation, the Justice Department found no widespread voter fraud.
I can recall one was on November 23rd, one was on December 1st, and one was on December 14th. And I've been through sort of the give and take of those discussions. And in that context, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit.
So one of the things that Trump is being accused of since his presidency is inciting the Capitol 6 riots that occurred on January 6, 2021. This happened when Trump held a rally at the White House claiming that the election was fraudulent and that they should march to Capitol and claim victory for Trump. Rather than being a protest, it was a riot, and they broke into the Capitol House. People looked for Nancy Pelosi and looked for other Democrats that they wanted to tie up and hurt. A lot of these Capitol 6 rioters would eventually be investigated and be imprisoned, and despite calls for impeachment and help, Trump did not help them. To this day, Trump claims that he had no say or part in the Capitol 6 riots, even though the speech would suggest otherwise. On January 13, 2021, Donald Trump became the first president to be impeached twice when the US House of Representatives impeached him for incitement of insurrection for the attack on the Capitol on January 6. The House voted 232 to 197, with 10 Republicans actually supporting the impeachment. Even now, after his presidency, there are multiple serious inquiries going on, from his role in the Capitol riots to a Georgia probe in his efforts to pressure state election officials not to certify Joe Biden's victory, and also most recently the FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago home, where the Justice Department and criminal investigation of his refusal to turn over reams of classified information after he left the White House. He was also investigated for his funding raising in the 2020 election, where he received $100 million based on the lies of the election fraud during the 2020 election. Now, just to end, I should mention, throughout his presidency, Trump had many political weapons as president. His signature move was to displace talk of one mind-blowing violation by committing just another one, and a habit that had produced numerous investigations of him and led the former president to dominate daily news. It was actually hard to keep up with all the scandals because they kept going. In fact, while researching this, I found there was a ton of examples of Trump breaking the law, of Trump looking after his friends, of Trump not paying his tax. There's so many things I could get into, but the video would just be too long. Trump has consistently, and along with his minions, along with his family, have broken the law and spat in the face of hard-working, tax-paying Americans. And despite that, these Republican MAGA fans will die for Trump. They will do anything for Trump. They will listen to anything Trump says and believe him, even if there's no evidence, even if there's no real facts behind what he's stating. People will still go to hell for him. And that is the biggest thing about this whole thing I've realised while making this video. I don't understand how mind-numbingly painful it can be. And if you watch any interviews with people that are MAGA fans of Trump, you'll see that a lot of these people don't have any real thought process behind their beliefs. They are just following what they are told to follow without really giving their own opinion or really researching the facts for themselves. So I leave you with this video. I hope you enjoyed. Now, of course, as we're recording this, Trump is still being investigated and he's running for the 2024 election. You know, he'd probably win it. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow manages to not get arrested and put in jail, which at this point seems like an impossibility. He could very well be the next president again, and he will sprout the same election fraud bullshit if he does not win. So what do you guys think? Do you think Trump is the greatest president that's ever existed? Do you guys agree with my opinion? Is there things that you feel I missed out on that I should have talked about in the video? Let me know. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'd really appreciate the time it takes for people to sit down and watch my videos. It really means the world to me. So please share, please like, please subscribe. Please tell me in the comments why I'm an idiot or why I'm a genius. Whichever works for you, I'm happy to hear. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.